They say you can't choose your family. But I never asked to be born into a family that looked at me like I was dirt on the floor. From the moment I got pregnant at 19, my mother looked at me with disgust. It wasn't just anger, it was like she decided I didn't matter anymore. My father didn't even say my name for a whole year. When my son Caleb was born, my sweet baby boy with the soft brown eyes, they didn't call him by his name either. For 6 months, they called him it. Don't let it cry near my room, my mother would hiss. I'm not raising garbage again. We lived in a small back unit behind their house. It was supposed to be for a few months. But 5 years later, we were still there. Caleb and I ate whatever was left on the table. Meanwhile, my sister Marn got steak and wine at every family dinner. I worked night shifts at the grocery store. I came home at 5 a.m., tired and sore. I folded laundry in silence while Marn laughed about her spa trips and fancy dates. I never complained. I just kept going. I did it all for Caleb. But last Saturday, something inside me finally broke. It was our neighborhood's annual block party. Every house on the street joined. There were lights hanging between driveways, tables full of food, and people sitting in chairs on the lawn. Caleb had been so excited. He wore his little red hoodie and carried a tray of cupcakes we baked together. He held it so carefully because he wanted to make me proud. When we arrived, my mother was already at the big table. She was pouring wine like she was the queen of the street. She looked at me and frowned. "You didn't do your hair," she said loudly so everyone could hear. "At least pretend you're not the help." I forced a smile. Caleb walked around offering cupcakes. People smiled at him, even neighbors who usually pretended we didn't exist. For a moment, I felt proud. Then it happened. Caleb tripped. One cupcake slipped from the tray and smeared on a woman's skirt. Before I could reach him, my mother's hand was already out. The sound was sharp. Caleb stumbled back, holding his cheek, his eyes wide with shock. There was frosting on his little face. My mother grabbed his hoodie by the collar and hissed loudly, "Trash deserves it." Then she let him go, walked back to the table, and took a bite of pie like nothing happened. People stood frozen. Then some of them laughed. Marn clapped slowly. "That's how you raise kids these days," she said. "Spare the rod, spoil the leech." Caleb didn't cry. He just stood there, red blooming on his cheek. And in that moment, something inside me snapped. I picked him up and looked at my mother. "Are you proud of yourself?" I said. She didn't even turn around. "Don't make a scene," she said. "You're lucky we even let you be seen." Everyone went back to eating like nothing had happened. Pie, brownies, ice cream, like a little boy hadn't just been slapped by his own grandmother. That night, I sat by Caleb's bed. His face was swollen. His eyes were tired. But he still held the last cupcake in his hand. "Mommy," he whispered, "did Grandma get mad?" I swallowed hard. "No, baby. She made herself mad." That night, I stopped being the silent daughter. I stopped folding my pain into tiny corners. They had crossed the line. I wasn't going to let them hurt my son. The next morning, I called off work for the first time in a year. I didn't speak to anyone. I just watched Caleb play with his toy truck by the window. The bruise under his eye grew darker. Every time I looked at it, something deeper inside me cracked again. Then Marn sent me a text. "Don't take it personally. Mom was being funny. You're just too sensitive." 10 minutes later, my mom sent a voice note. "Tell the boy to grow thicker skin." I barely touched him. Drama must be in your blood. I listened to it 3 times. And then, I started packing. Not clothes. Not toys. I packed my journals, the diaries I'd kept since I was 13. They were full of every cruel word, every slap, every time they forgot me, every time they laughed at me. I also packed Caleb's hospital papers. When he was 1, he got so sick he could barely breathe. My mother said, if he's that weak, maybe nature's doing us a favor. I walked 5 blocks in the freezing rain to get him help. I kept that discharge paper all these years. Because it reminded me we survived them. I stopped talking to them. They didn't even notice. 2 days later, another message came. Are you over your tantrum yet? We need you to babysit Marn's dog and bring those cupcakes. They were tolerable. Tolerable. Like my son and I were products they could use. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I smiled. I replied, sure, I'll bring something sweet. But I wasn't talking about cupcakes. The block was having a second small neighborhood party that weekend. I offered to bring dessert. Mom texted back, good girl. Knew you'd fall in line. That was her mistake. The night before the party, I didn't bake cupcakes. I baked memories. I printed photos of Caleb's first Christmas, the one where they refused to hold him. I printed a photo of his bruised arm when he fell down the stairs they never fixed. I took out my journals, the pages where my father called me an accident, where my mother said I was trash. I wrote little notes, their own words, and placed them inside pretty cupcake boxes tied with ribbons. The next morning, I dressed Caleb and kissed him. This time, I didn't bring him. He stayed with Ms. Esther, a kind old teacher down the street. She always called him my little gentleman. Then I went to the party. I set up the dessert table early. 20 pretty cupcake boxes. Inside each one, the truth. The neighbors came. Marn was taking selfies. Mom wore a new scarf, waving like she was on TV. Dad opened a beer before noon. Mom looked at me and sneered. You actually tried this time. Good. Apologize through baking. That's your role. She opened the first box. Inside was a card. It said, I begged you not to scream so loud the night you bled on the carpet. Your father was watching his show. Her smile disappeared. She opened another box. When Marn pushed you down the stairs, we told the ER you were clumsy. But you were always a liar. One by one, the neighbors opened the boxes. The laughter faded. The silence grew heavy. Marn read her card out loud without meaning to. We chose you because you were prettier. She's just a sack of sadness. Her face went pale. Dad stormed toward me. What the hell is this? I stood still. It's dessert, I said softly. You like sweet things, right? He shouted, you think this is funny? No, I said. But you did. I pressed play on my phone. Everyone heard Caleb's small voice. Mommy, did I make Grandma mad? Then the sound of the slap. And my mother's voice. Trash deserves it. The neighbors gasped. Someone whispered, that's abuse. Dad grabbed the speaker and threw it. Mom screamed, you'll regret this. But I was already walking away. I didn't come to fight. I came to show the truth. Behind me, people were shouting. Their perfect mask had cracked in front of everyone. I walked to Ms. Esther's house. Caleb was sitting on her porch swing with a cup of lemonade. When he saw me, he smiled, that pure, sweet smile that no cruelty could erase. Hey, baby, I said softly. You okay? He nodded. Did Grandma like the cupcakes? He asked innocently. I smiled. She got a taste of them. He giggled, not knowing what I meant. Maybe that was better. We sat on the swing together. The breeze was soft. The laughter from other houses was real, not fake like at my parents' house. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel like a shadow. I felt free. The next day, everything changed. A neighbor had recorded the whole thing, the cards, the audio, everything. She uploaded it anonymously to the community page. Within hours, everyone in town had seen it. The woman who bragged about her perfect family was now known for being cruel. She became the face of a monster in pearls. My mom called me 26 times. I didn't answer. Marn sent one message, "You destroyed us." I typed back, "You destroyed yourselves." Then I blocked her. I moved 2 towns away with Caleb. We found a small apartment with peeling paint and noisy pipes. But it was ours. No insults. No cold eyes. No footsteps of hate. Just Caleb's soft humming as he drew on the kitchen floor. I got a job at a cafe. Then another at the library. I saved money little by little. Every shift was a piece of my freedom. I didn't just escape a house. I escaped a curse. Months later, a letter came in the mail. No return address. Inside was a photo of my mother. She sat alone at a cafe table. Her eyes were red. The note read, "They stopped coming. No one talks to me. The neighbors cross the street when they see me. Are you happy?" I didn't feel happy. But I felt clean. I wrote one line back. "You beat a child and called it love. What did you think would grow from that?" I mailed it back with no return address. Weeks later, a for sale sign appeared in front of my parents' house. The curtains were closed. The yard was empty. The family that once called me worthless was gone. That night, Caleb and I baked cupcakes again. He laughed as sugar stuck to his fingers. "Do you think Grandma would like these?" he asked. I kissed his forehead and said, "No, sweetheart. These are for people who know kindness tastes better." We sat on the kitchen floor, eating cupcakes under the fridge light. The night outside was quiet. And inside, there was peace. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel like trash. I felt like someone who had finally taken out the garbage and left it exactly where it belonged. Please like and subscribe for more videos. Also comment where you're watching from.